Welcome. My name's David Elliott Johnson, and I teach the art of creative authenticity. And I use this channel as an extension of that 5-module course where I can share further insight and experiences with you. But it's also a platform for me to share the people that are in my life that inspire me and keep me creatively focused. And one of those people is a dear friend of mine. She's a singer, she's an actor, she's a comedian, she's a playwright. She's a graduate of the Groundlings improv group in Los Angeles. She's done so many things. She's a creative dynamo, if you will. Yeah, she's also a painter, for fuck's sake. But she inspires me. She's an incredibly strong and resilient woman, and if that isn't inspiration enough, I think my mother would slap me. So without further ado, here is my interview with Miss Tiffany Santiago. Welcome. I'm David Elliott Johnson, and today I have the honor of sharing this space with Tiffany Santiago.
Hi.
That's you.
That's me.
We've been friends for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
and I know a tiny bit about your past, but I would like you to...
Oh, that makes it sound so scary. I know a lot about your past.
I know about your past. Don't fuck with me, lady. Take me kind of back to the beginning when you became creative or thought that that was the path that you wanted to journey down.
Sure. It really goes back to, me being teeny-tiny, just a Cajun girl back in Louisiana. I was very drawn to music. Cajun culture is full of great music, great food, connecting with other people. And I remember being around the age of 4 and my parents taking me to go see Beausoleil, which is a Grammy Award-winning Cajun band. And they're from my hometown. And it was some Cajun festival. And to be from Louisiana, there's like a festival every other weekend, whether it's a food festival or a music festival or a combo of both. And so we were always in it. My parents are avid music lovers. They love to dance. So they were always taking us to go see live music. And so I was 4 and I went to go see Beausoleil. And there was just something about hearing it on, we had a turntable and we would listen to records nonstop, and my mom had an 8-track, and we'd listen to 8-track in the car, and music always made me travel to other worlds. It introduced a whole other world out there, and it would just spark imagination. So that's what listening to records did. But when I saw live music, it just stirred something in me, and it just, like, I felt like my belly was on fire and I couldn't stop moving, and I was like, I want to do that. And so we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and we went to there was like this little I think it was called like Wilco. It was this sort of like what a Walmart would be today, but much smaller. And this was a few weeks after I saw this live band, and I wanted a microphone, and we couldn't afford a microphone. And so my mom was buying some stuff, and I was walking up and down this microphone aisle. And as she was going to the register, I was walking it was very obvious. I had it behind my back. I was this tiny little thing, and I was walking very slowly with a microphone behind my back, just like trying to like shoplift it out of there. And my mom was like, "What's behind your back?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing." And the woman who was checking us out at the register was like, and she's like, "Turn around." And then I would turn around, but I would flip the microphone in the other way. And she's like, "What's behind your damn back?" And I was like, and I, showed her the microphone, and she was like, "Were you trying to shoplift the microphone?" And I was like, I just want to sing. And so she made me put it back. And I got a talking to all the way home. So cut to the next weekend, my brother had a drum set that he had gotten for the previous Christmas. This is summer, and we had a front stoop, and we put on this concert for like the neighborhood kids. And I didn't have a microphone, and I was literally trying to figure out like what I could use at the last minute. And I was like, a stick? No. And then I saw a lizard bathing in the sun, And I went and I grabbed this live lizard and I came up the stoop and my brother was on the drums and I was like, 1, 2, 3, hit it. And he was like, and I was like, yeah, hit it. And I just started singing with this live lizard. This is not an exaggeration. This is true. And, like we did, kung fu fighting. We did like, Jackson 5 ABC, and, Benny and the Jets, which was my all-time favorite song. And it was like on that third song, like the lizard was like, I had enough and basically clamped down on my middle lip and wouldn't let go. And so blood is now coming out. It's intense, but the audience goes crazy. The kids are like, "Wah!" And I felt like I was like, this is magic right here. Like this, that exchange from the audience. And then, of course, I had this new energized thing happening with my lip. I run inside, and my parents were like, what the hell? Like, they were both, they thought it was hilarious, and they were also horrified. Um, but yeah, it was like, I just felt this impulse to perform, and that's when it got me, is back when I was 4. Originally, I thought I was going to be a singer, but then I realized singing, there's such a vulnerability to singing. Um, and I felt more comfortable playing characters and being people that wasn't me. There was something about singing that was like, wow, when I sing, this is my soul. And I felt like I needed to protect my soul. So I became an actor and started just doing plays immediately in elementary school, and then just, and was dancing as well, and just kind of took it from there.
So
Yeah.
you were too young to realize that you could be an actor as a singer.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
like there are so many artists even today and the past that take on a character or persona
Mm-hmm.
as, an extension of who they really are, but more so of who they're afraid to be.
Totally. Totally.
And they allow that to, be what propels them,
Mm-hmm.
into stardom, into the public. Um, when did you start being creative on your own?
That's a great
And
question.
what inspired that? What was, if you can think about it, what was the moment where you thought to yourself, okay, there's all this work that everybody else has done that I can reproduce, but if you can remember, what was that moment where you thought to yourself, I want to do this in my own voice. I have
Mm-hmm.
a voice and I want to share that.
Mm-hmm. Um, I would say it took me a while, I feel like, to find that. I feel like I'm pretty quirky. And as much as my family loves me and supports me, I think that everybody in my family was like, "Oh, you're different." Like, "Oh, where'd you come from?" I
Yeah.
was definitely the black sheep of the family. Again, they loved me, they supported me, but they didn't quite get my humor. So I don't think it was until I moved to Los Angeles. I bought a one-way ticket to Los Angeles. Never been. And just that's when you could bring, like, I don't know, you could bring like 20 suitcases on the plane. I mean, I brought 5, but I just flew out there, and then I hit the streets, like dropping off my resume, got an agent within the first week, and then started auditioning. And I don't think it was until I was much later in my 20s. I guess at this point I'd been in LA for maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and I started taking classes at the Groundlings, improv classes.
Oh.
And it was um, that improv that made me realize, like, there are no boundaries, there's
Mhm.
no limit. I can curse, I can be anybody I want. I can have any topic. I can yes and yes and yes and all day long. And it just helped me get out of my shell and then realize, um, I mean, people always told me I was funny, but like that's when I realized, like, oh wow, I have this unbelievable freedom here to kind of do and be whatever I want. And that just was so freeing for me. I was a theater major in school, and that was like very studied plays and, everything from Shakespeare to classic to, yeah, modern pieces as well, but the groundlings and improv. And then taking that a step further and continue going through the entire program, and then writing sketches and writing improv, and I mean, not writing improv, but doing improv and writing sketches, and then full on like comedic plays. Like that just propelled something in me that I realized, like, I found my niche, like I found myself through that type of comedy.
What was the community support towards your efforts? Or was there? Or was this something that you just had to take on yourself? Was there anyone in particular, or was it just the group that was inspiring you to write? Or did you just figure this was something you had to do on your own? And
I think it was all of it.
okay.
I remember realizing what worked for me was just, again, coming from my family, which is a bunch of characters. And I mean, like, I have this vast array of, like, just richness of material to pull from because of just the characters of my family. Um, and so very quickly in one of the classes, I think this was in my like, there's, you go through beginning, and if you pass beginning, then you go into intermediate, and then you go into advanced, and then there's this whole, like, process that you have to go through when you go through the groundlings. And so this was my intermediate class, and Mindy Sterling, who she's in a lot of things. If you Google her, you'll be like, oh, I know who she is. She's hilarious. She's this, 5 foot nothing. She's strong. She's an older comedic actor, and she's hilarious. And so she said, I want y'all to come to class next week. Your assignment next week is I want y'all to come as somebody somebody that you know really well. And basically, we're going to ask you these questions, and I want you to answer it in full character as that person. And so I was like, awesome. And I knew immediately I wanted to do my grandmother. And this is my mom's mom. Her name was Mildred. I don't believe she had more than like a fifth grade education because she needed to make money for the family. She was a cafeteria worker. She also deboned turkeys on the side. That's what she did. And so she was a character and was also terrifying to me. Like, she was the sort of larger woman, and you did not, excuse my language, but fuck around with Mildred. And so I did her, and she has this great, great voice. I haven't done it in a while, but let me see if I can do it. But it's very loud, it's a little shrill, and it's very Cajun. And she's like, man, let me tell you something, Sha. Oh yeah, it's that thing. And you, when she tells a story, you can't help but just be captivated by her. And so she would tell these stories of, like, how she used to go to the lodge, and they would just be drinking beer, and her husband was Dalton, and she's like, but she'd call him Junior. She's like, Junior, he'd be blockade, which means drunk. He'd be blockade. He'd just be shooting pool. And then some woman would come up and she'd start flirting with him. I'm like, no, just very, like, this hard character. And so I do this character for this class, and I have everybody in stitches because they've never seen anything like. They're like, what is this? What accent is this? Who the fuck is this? And she also doesn't give a shit. So she was asking these questions, and she's like, I want a one-word answer to this question. So my teacher was like, Mindy was like, okay, so I'm going to ask you this question. It's just, I want a simple, just one word. And I answered it in 3. And she's like, okay, well, it's really just, I want one answer. And I was like, man, I'm not giving you one answer because this is what it is, And so she was just like, oh, okay. And so after it was all done and everybody did their thing, Mindy was like, she pulled me aside after class, and she's like, this is a one-woman show. Like, this character, holy shit, is there, like, you have this unique opportunity with your culture and your grandmother and who she is, and it just writes itself. Like, I don't even have to write it just because and so I started going home and, like, bringing a recorder and recording her, but I didn't want her to know that I was recording her because everything was so relaxed, and she's just speaking off the cuff, and she's telling me, like, I am from a family on both sides of incredible natural storytellers. I mean, my mother, my father, my grandparents on both sides. And it just goes on and on. And so she would just tell me these incredible stories, and I was recording them. And so every time I'd go home to visit, I'd bring the recorder and I'd keep it in my bag. And then I think it was like on the third visit, I came home, and it was, one of those cassette tapes, and it just basically, you could hear it click, the tape ended. And she was like, "Man, what was that?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, so here's the deal. I've been recording you, so I did you in with this class I'm taking, and I kind of walked her through it. And I'm like, so basically for the last 3 years I've been recording I've been recording your stories." And she was like, she got like a little like flush to the cheeks, and she was just like, "Man, I don't know if I should be pissed off or if I should be excited." She was just like, and so,
Wow.
yeah. And so that just sort of continued. And this is the crazy thing, David, and I know, like, um, you know, one of the things that has gotten in my way, creativity. Oh my God, say the word. Creativity.
Creatively.
Thank you, Jesus. Creatively.
And I fuck up words all the time. And I'm like,
Creatively. One of the things that I have gotten in my way is perfectionism.
oh, wow.
And so this show that I was like, started writing and started recording, I mean, this was back in, oh my God, 95, 96.
So is this the show that Jeff has been
Yes.
referring to? Wow.
Yes. And
Wow.
I have definitely have written it, put it down, have done sections of it in different capacities of storytelling. But I think what I find is that it's so close to home because it's my family. There's something about, we all have that thing with our family,
Mm-hmm.
And when I pick it up and I start, it's like, it brings up so much shit, good and bad, that I'm like, oh God. And then I just put it down. But yeah, that's the show that, and this is the thing, is like, I remember going, oh, I can't wait for my grandmother to like see this show. And then, she died. And then it was like, oh, I can't wait for like my parents to see this show. And then my dad died, and, my mom's still living, but it's like, wow. So yeah, that holding myself back is, and that perfectionism, and that, oh, it's not right enough. Oh, I'm not quite sure about this angle, or this isn't perfect enough, has definitely gotten in my way of having that show happen.
I can identify with this 100% wholeheartedly, because here I sit. I'm 55 years old now, and the last time that I made a record for myself was when I was 21, because
Wow.
every time after that I became my own worst critic.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yes, I can so relate to that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I can write for other people and I can work with other people,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see their limitations,
Mm-hmm.
and I can break them beyond their limitations. I can get them to recognize their limitations, and I can help them work through their limitations to the point where they go, holy shit, I'm what's in my way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. So it's almost like briefly, I worked with her husband, Jeff, in a band, and I produced their record, and Jeff had these aha moments of,
Mm-hmm.
why is it taking me so long to give myself permission
Yes.
to be what I am and who I am beyond the concept of quality, or the false narrative
Mm-hmm.
of perfection,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't exist. There is no perfection in art. It's
Right.
all of the flaws.
Totally.
It's all of the bullshit that creates the character, as I use the word melange,
Yeah.
of
Yes.
everything that you have taken in as a soul, as a person. When you release that through your art, it has life.
Mm-hmm.
It has purpose. It has
Mm-hmm.
meaning. And this is why at this point in my life, I have finally figured out that I have to be much more gentle with myself
Mm-hmm.
and allow myself to pursue my own truth. And what's interesting is, I mean, for years, I did radio interviews and
Mm-hmm.
podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Sometime before there were podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
I had a company that I was like one of the recognized pioneers of streaming and interviewing artists.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, I learned so much about their insecurities
Mm-hmm.
in those interviews. And what's brought me back to this point of allowing myself to be gentle with myself and allow myself to just kind of get back in the stream of that
Mm-hmm.
creativity is interviewing people that I like
Yeah.
and interviewing people that I admire their creative inspiration, their
Mm-hmm.
creative voice. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
make me laugh like fucking nobody has
Awesome.
made me laugh.
I love it when
But
I
it,
can
but
make you laugh.
but at the same time, you're so sincere and you're so real in your person that inspires me and makes me recognize my desire and just me wanting to remain in that
Right.
place
Right.
of being genuine, of
Mm-hmm.
being authentic,
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
naturally. And when I recognize that authenticity in others, I want to get down to the root of it.
Mm-hmm.
And making these videos that I've been doing on this channel just by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been wanting to start a channel for years,
Mm-hmm.
but every time I got in front of the camera, I went, what the fuck am I going to say
Right.
that anybody's going to be interested
Mm-hmm.
in? Because I'm not even interested in what I have to say. But then I realized that it's not about me talking to myself. What I learned when I had a radio show from a broadcaster that had a 50-year span
Mm-hmm.
of top radio shows, I said, how do you talk to all those people every day? He goes, I don't talk to all those people.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what do you mean? He goes, I talk to one person at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, and most commonly, it's my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know she's listening.
Yeah. That's
so
awesome.
I have a conversation with my wife.
I love that.
Nightly.
It also just takes the pressure off. Like you're just like, I'm talking, we have this thing. Like, yeah, one thing about the videos that you have been doing is Jeff and I were talking about this because I've been enjoying them and they've been inspiring me. And the fact that you're like, been wanting to do this and you're like, shit, I'm just going to do it. And now you're doing it.
Yeah.
Is that you talking about authenticity, but also you have such a gift of this voice. There's the timbre of your voice and how you use your voice, and it's captivating. So it's been drawing me in and how you've been shooting it. So I've like, it's funny in the morning, I'm like, check my, and I'm like, oh, David's got a new video. And then I'm like, and everybody's like, what are you doing? I'm like, shh.
Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, it's been inspiring me. So, but Jeff and I were like, yeah, he's got that voice. And Jeff's like, yeah, he's got that voice. And you do. You've got such a great, commanding presence with your voice. Yeah.
Interesting. I have always found my voice annoying.
Really?
Because I hear it.
Yeah.
I hear it. I've just never recognized
Mm-hmm.
how I sound. It's weird. It's like why most people hate to hear their voices recorded.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think everybody feels that way. Yeah.
Everybody. So I'm still going through. I still have that fucked up judgment
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of, listen to other broadcasters and listen to other people speak. There is so much manipulation physically that has to go into creating a dialogue, and then you're thinking about it.
Well, if I can just interject that watching, the progression of your videos as they've been coming out, like I am noticing that you're feeling more and more comfortable in front of the camera.
Oh yeah.
Like, and so it's like, just like anything, you do it like more and more, then it just becomes second nature. And so now, what I love is I love the time limit I love the structure that you have and how it's just like, you're just talking off the cuff. And it's just like, just enough where where it's grabbing my attention and then it's done.
But those are excerpts from 30
right,
minutes.
Sure.
40 minutes just fucking, bleh, I got something to tell you. Wait, there's more. Hold on. There's
Oh my God, that's great.
But what's interesting is when I watch these back just to go, is that any good? I find that I'm starting to lose myself in what I'm doing, and I'm just listening, and I'm absorbing from a totally different point. And because I'm at this point where I'm finally accepting my creativity. See,
I'm rubbing off on you, man.
Fucking word. My creativity. That. Again, I like having these conversations with people that are that we're in the same age bracket. We're at the same points in our lives with kids and family and trauma and issues and all kinds of shit. But we're all trying to push each other into our back to our creative path.
Yes, yeah. Definitely.
And so in me wanting to sit here with you, it's more I identify so much with where you're at and where you've been, and I want to know where you're going and where that wall is, because I'm still on the other side of the wall, as comfortable as I'm getting and accepting. And acknowledging, oh, I've got something to offer, much like yourself. Okay, I got shit to offer. Where is your wall? Where's the brick fucking wall that you're hitting on a daily basis that just impedes?
Well, it's interesting. I think there's a couple of things. I think number one, I was just in therapy on Wednesday, and I noticed something at AVL Fest. We took Gabrielle, our daughter, to see several bands. We ran into you. We took her to see some stuff on Saturday, some stuff on Sunday, and then Jeff was also part of this professional, sort of music panel, which was inspiring. And what I noticed that was happening, like kind of within myself, like it was just my own shit that was stirring from being at the AVL Fest, which was inspiring and wonderful. And like, I just love seeing like all of these people coming together, people coming from, out of the state, but just kind of walking into all these venues and seeing all these different types of music, and both local, regional, national. But I'm finding as I'm getting older and as I'm not being a full creative that I usually am or want to be or go back to. And Jeff got to play, and I was telling my therapist on Wednesday, I was like, I was noticing over the weekend that there's this sort of thing that's happening with, like, Jeff is just on this trajectory creatively. And there's like this opportunity that's happening, and this opportunity, and all these opportunities. And I'm being a creative myself, like none of these things are happening within my life right now. And she's like, well, why do you think that is? And I was like, well, he's working his ass off. I mean, he's doing it. He's been doing the work for, forever.
Yeah.
And I said, and he doesn't stop. And this man doesn't let perfectionism is not even in his vocabulary. And so one of the things I told her, I'm like, when we started dating, this was back in LA, he had, these great songs, but people were like, you're not really a vocalist. And so he was the lead guitar player. And so people were singing his songs. And then finally he was like, well, shit, there's a lot of drama within this band. Let me just do my own thing and sing my own songs and find my own voice. Well, it took him years to find his own voice. And so I remember being like in LA on Sunset Boulevard, him doing open mics at Crooked Bar. And I was his biggest fan, but I'm also, not only am I very critical of myself, but I'm a critical bastard in general. Like I have these certain expectations for, um, as long as it's authentic and somebody's coming from a genuine place, like, and it moves me, great. But I just am I'm very critical. And so when Jeff started singing, I was like, oh shit. And I would find myself like, oh God. Oh, that's pitchy. Oh, oh shit. And then going like, he's really sexy. Okay, should we be singing? Like, just let's do that guitar riff. Like, yeah, just go back to the solo. And I was like, oh wow. And then I remember him, I don't know, we were together at 6 months at this point, and he went back to play a song for he was the best man in his best friend's wedding, flew back to New York, met the whole family. And everyone knew, like, that Jeff was like, an aspiring musician. He had a band when he was 8. It's like he used to do shows in the backyard. And they're all like, Jeff! And of course, I love him as well. But I mean, he's playing this song for this wedding. I'm like, should he be doing this? Like, why is he doing it? Everybody looks so happy. And I found myself, and Jeff knows this. I mean, I'm very brutally honest with him, very supportive and loving to him.
Sure.
But I'm also like, he knows to come to me that I'm going to be very honest. And I found myself literally crouching until I'm in a crouched position, and I am now watching him perform under a man's legs. Through a man's legs, I am literally like, and then I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Tiffany? Like, and then after he's like, how was that? And I was like, and so to see his growth and how far he's come.
Mm-hmm.
And now the thing that people comment on is his voice.
Yeah.
Your voice. And this man inspires me like daily. Like one of the things that like what inspires me, it's him. Like one of the things that I have watched is he does things, he puts himself out there, whether he falls on his face and he just gets back up and he does it. Like he doesn't stop and he keeps working. And there's something to be said about that. That is how success happens.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to my therapist, she's like, so when you were having these feelings this weekend and about AVL Fest and Jeff and how he's on this trajectory, like, are you feeling some resentment? I was like, I'm his biggest fan. Like, I'm not feeling resentment, but what I do feel is envy. I'm like, when Jeff and I first started dating, I mean, he saw me on stage first. Like, I was doing a show with the Growlings. I mean, Maya Rudolph was in that show. Steve Agee. It's like Jordan Black. All of these incredible people that have these comedic careers now, and it was an incredible show. He was like, holy shit, who is this girl? She's, like he had, he was inspired by me, and I was doing all these auditions and, booking all of this stuff. And he felt then, like we talked about this morning, how I was on this trajectory. And he was like, holy crap, this girl has no fear. She's just going for it. She's doing all this shit. Like, and he felt at that time he was lost. And it's interesting how things have sort of like reversed. And when we moved to Asheville, I don't think I ever quite found my footing here. And then I'm famous. Like I'm famous for also making a lot of excuses because of this perfectionism. And so when we talked about this in therapy, I said that I was like, I'm having this realization that I have a fear of success. And so we do this thing where she has me sort of repeat this sentence, like, is it true that, do I think it's true that, and whatever the statement is that I'm going through. So, and then what I close my eyes, and then what I do is it brings up, it could bring up an image or a feeling or like a sigh or a message, whatever it is. And then I share that with her. And then she's like, okay, think about that for a second. Okay. Then we're moving on, and then repeat the question and see what else comes up for you. And so we did this for about 15 minutes. And then that sentence changed from my deep-rooted fear of success changed to I have um, this fear of truly owning my power, and how I feel like truly owning my power will just be this thing where it's like, and it'll take off, and then I won't have control. And that when it really, all the messages that I kept getting, whether it was a visual or an actual word message or a feeling, was safety. And it just came up as safety, safety for myself, safety for my daughter. And this is just the childhood trauma that, we all have different childhood trauma, but this is my childhood trauma. And it's literally all comes to safety and losing my anonymity and having too much be known about me, and then not being able to control. I've seen it so much with friends of mine in LA that they're like, yeah, I just want to be an actor. No one wants to be, I mean, some people want to be famous. That's their goal. But I had friends that were like, yeah, I just want to be a working actor. And then their career takes off. They have no control over it. They don't know that the sitcom is going to get picked up. And it's like, oh my God, it's everybody's favorite sitcom. And then now they're like, their whole life is followed by paparazzi. And they're like, this sucks. And so there's a fear of that. Not that that's going to happen, but there's that, whatever, that fear of putting out anything and somebody going, oh, that's hilarious. Like, and then it just taken off. I don't know. It's so it was really eye opening for me that so much of this is my feeling like owning my power is dangerous. And so that's kind of where I'm at. That's a new discovery this week, and we're gonna continue working through it. And because my goal is to get to the other side of it, because I feel like I have this great potential. I feel like I have a gift with people. I feel like I have a gift with connecting with people. I have a way of like disarming people. People, complete strangers, gravitate towards me just to feel safe. It happens all the time where I work at Haywood Street. Folks that are very guarded and angry just find themselves walking up to me and then suddenly opening up and sharing their story. And it's a vulnerable story, and it happens over and over and over again. And I feel like I do have this gift. I have a gift of humor. So for me, I'm just trying to remind myself that I have these innate gifts. I was given these gifts for a reason, and that I don't want to let fear or perfectionism or any excuse that I can make, which I have 1,000 excuses that I make, to stop me from putting out that into the world. And watching the evolution of this album that you and Jeff worked on, Jeff working through this grief of the loss of his mom and his brother, was just yet a reminder of like, it's okay to take extreme vulnerability and put it out there. That's the things that speak most to me. That's the art form, whether it's painting, documentary, storytelling, music, when it's that true raw vulnerability, there's something about that really moves me and speaks to me. And I think that's the case for many of us, especially right now when our world is constantly on fire, being drawn to those pieces of art. And so Jeff is a daily inspiration for me. Y'all's collaboration and how y'all work together, when our families come together, just that's inspiration for me. My daughter is a constant inspiration for me. This child is so innately creative. And to watch her from a baby painting at 19 months old, and singing and making music, and how there was nothing holding her back, and there was not anything like, oh, it doesn't even sound good, or it's just watching this freedom. I mean, this child would pick up a paintbrush and intentionally at 19 months old choose colors, and I'm like, I've never been able to do that as an artist in that medium. So I've learned so much from her in the process of painting. I've never taken a painting class, but she's been my teacher. And now I'm painting and all different types and just painting from the heart. And the responses that I'm getting from my artwork are like, I'm like almost blush, my really, Like, it almost is embarrassing. I'm like, you think it's good? Like, really? But I look at it and it speaks to me and it speaks to them. And one of my best friends growing up, Stephanie, she's an artist, and her mother was an artist, a hobbyist, but incredible artist. And Steph studied it and has taken classes and was also studying to be an art teacher. She has multiple degrees, and she's just a naturally gifted drawer, painter, in all mediums. And I'll send her little things like that I paint or do. And she said something to me that like really struck a chord with me and also gave me confidence to continue. And she's like, Tiffany, she's like, I know you keep going on and on about how you've never taken an art class, but she's like, there's something about the art pieces that you do that just provokes such a feeling. Like when I look at it, it provokes a feeling in me because it's so authentic. It's so authentically you. And it really speaks your voice. And there's so much movement in your paintings that provoke feeling. And that's what you want to do as an artist. Where so many of us that are trained artists get stuck on all the details and their perfectionisms and the realism of it. And so I was like, and I just respect her so much as an artist and a person that she said this to me last year, and it just it's really moved me and inspired me to like continue to do that art form that I just typically do it. I do as a hobby just because it's an outlet. It's another outlet for me to get that shit out. Yeah.
There are three things that you and I, the commonalities, as I had mentioned in a text, a lot of things in common. My father struggled with a fear of success.
Mm. And he was a drummer as well, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a fear of success. And I had to watch that, which was really tough.
Oh, I bet.
Really tough because he was brilliant on a completely different level. I mean, everybody said, all his friends were like, basically, fuck you. You and your goodness.
Right. Right.
And I had to watch him battle that. And that became the demise of his career.
So heartbreaking.
Was because his pursuit of perfection, or this value system that he created in his head, it totally fucked him up. The other thing that you were talking about was, I'll get to it. Because that one just strikes me pretty hard.
Oh, sure.
With the fear of success. Because I just to resolve that a little bit, I find myself to be in the same situation. And when you mentioned losing your anonymity and losing yourself in a career, I literally did a video on this yesterday about success. Make sure you know what you want. And I was describing the many times in my life that I had an opportunity to become famous, whether it was a record deal or making a movie or being a drummer on a tour. Right? I mean, I had many moments in my career where if I had pushed, I could become a household name to some extent. And every time that it would get to that ceiling, I would go,
yeah, I kind of been there.
Right?
So many times.
Because I worked with people that were at that level. And I've watched so many of them fall.
Yes.
And it's a long, hard way to fall.
It is.
I never wanted to feel that pain. I never wanted to subject myself to that. See, I'm already setting myself up for failure. I'm saying, I'm going to be so fucking big. I'm going to fucking fall. I'm going to fail. Eventually. So I'm already doubting my
Mm-hmm.
sustainability of my or my commitment to my craft, but I've set this level of what I think is success,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so what I had to do was create my own value system of what success was ultimately. And within that, I had to redefine success for me is
Mm-hmm.
right. And any time that anything
Yeah.
would get in my way or the ego would subject to me to just mania of
Mm-hmm.
this sucks, you suck, you're never gonna all that.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
call him, by the way, I call him Mickey. Right?
Mickey, I love that.
Mickey.
Mickey's an asshole.
Mickey is, you're a bum, Rocky. You know? You're never gonna make it. And that's what I hear in my fucking head. So I've got my own shit going on. I got Mickey living in my fucking head. And he's like, Johnson, you're never gonna make it.
God. By the way,
You're a slack.
that's a very impressive, that is very impressive, that voice.
Oh, well,
Yeah. That's so good.
I can't take credit for that. But it's, so I had to create this new value system for myself. And I learned from somebody that I follow and respect as they call him the mind architect, Peter Crone.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, if you ask yourself these things, is this in my truth?
Mm-hmm.
The answer will always be no.
Mm-hmm.
So all this bullshit that you create for yourself, if you sit there for a second and you go, is any of this true? It will resolve to no.
Totally.
Right.
And this is what I've been working in therapy. Like, it's
well,
amazing.
Well, see, those,
Yeah.
I made it. I made the three things.
Yes, there you go.
I got to it. But this is what is helping me get back to my own creativity. Mm-hmm. And because now I'm committing myself to, just as I would in my journal. I mean, Melissa could tell you every morning, diligently, I'm down here. I've got my morning beverage, whatever that might be, and I'm down here and I am journaling pages. And then I give myself 5 minutes in gratitude, and I sit there and I digest everything. I don't read it back. I just flip the page. Mm-hmm. I don't even worry about it. But now that I've committed to making these videos and allowing this to be my communication, it's actually propelling me to go, oh, so you think Mickey's Johnson, you think you can do that? Make a fucking record. Come on, man. You know, hey, you hot shit. Make a fucking record that's going to make you $1 million.
Right.
And so I've got that just beating me down. Oh, wait a minute. This would be a way to commit myself to doing something, because now I'm putting myself out there on this level, and people are looking to me, or the one person that is watching is going, this guy is teaching me how to be sustainably successful as a creative. Mm-hmm. But what is he doing?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have to now hold myself accountable.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's a responsibility, not just to this new form communication that I'm developing for myself, but for myself. Mm-hmm. I can't be the fucking hypocrite.
Right, sure.
Right?
Sure.
It's like there are so many people out there selling you on so much shit, but they don't fucking do it.
Yes, absolutely.
They don't do any of it.
Yeah.
But I love what I do. Mm-hmm. So it's in these conversations, it just supports and reinforces me striving to be more creative myself, and developing this community of others to where we can check in on each other and go, we had the conversation.
Right.
I have proof. Mm-hmm. We talked about it.
Yep.
What are you doing to move it forward? So in closing, what can you do to move yourself forward? What can you do immediately, even if it's 5 minutes a day, to find your some peace before your mind gets in there and fucks it up? What can you do in your daily life to reignite that purpose and that passion?
For me, I believe it's writing. I used to journal. I don't even do that anymore. So I actually journaled the questions that like just like, hey, these are some of the topics. Like I just not a big deal. It's more of a conversation. But I was like, well, let me stir up that conversation within myself because I want to know, have an inkling um of what these things are bringing up for me. So I basically wrote answers. Some of it I didn't even talk about today. It actually, you asked a question and it brought me back. I answered it just organically, like, oh, I can answer that. Um, but I think I find every time I put pen to paper um, and really write down just stories of like my own story, and it could be a story of my childhood, something that just happened, or just an exercise of accountability or whatever it is, that it starts there because I think every time I start doing that it just flourishes. Like it's automatically, it's like idea, it just keeps rolling. um so I feel like that, and also using my recorder on my phone to record ideas. I mean, I get the best ideas when I'm driving
Yes.
and when I'm listening to music, and it's just like this. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I arrive to my destination. I'm like, how the fuck did I get here? I don't even remember getting there because the ideas are flowing so much. And then what happens is, number one, I have a mom brain and I'm just like, I cannot remember shit. And so
Yeah.
all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this down. And then cut to, I've put Abrielle down for the night and I literally am like, oh my God, what was it? I can't even remember it. So making use of that. I mean, those are just two simple tools that I can do now. Um, so that's what I'm going to do.
Right on.
And yeah.
Were there any of the questions that I kind of prompted for you? Was there anything that really caught your attention and made you go, "Oh fuck, this was a tough one," or something that sparked something in your psyche there that made you go, "Oh man, I want to challenge that one."
I think they really all spoke to me.
I mean, you've done an incredible job
Yeah.
of laying out so much of what I wanted to cover. So there's
Sure.
nothing missing here. It's not like
Right.
I'm
Right.
digging.
Right. No, I feel like for me, it's just,
Come on, Tiff.
it's, it's really like that, being honest with myself. Women just don't talk about it with each other. They don't talk really about menopause or any of these things that are happening in our bodies. But as a creative and just as a woman, um, suddenly you get in your 50s and you used to get all of this attention from men, a lot of it unwanted, but you're used to it. And then when you get hit a certain age, you just become invisible. You literally um, feel invisible. I mean, there are times where, I mean, I am part of a group, and I don't mean people that we know, but if I'm in a business situation or in a grocery store situation, and there's a lot of times where I'm just like, oh shit, like they don't even see me. Um, my voice isn't heard. There's something that happens, and I am a strong, independent woman that expresses herself. I have
Mm-hmm.
no problem holding my ground at all. And I feel like I might be petite, but I have a strong presence about me.
Sure you do.
And yeah, it is as if sometimes I don't even exist. And that is really shocking. And I'm still trying to deal with it. Yeah, I mean, I really can't explain it other than like, yeah, it's really fascinating. Like, you don't really think about it because you're going around, like, you're just doing your day to day. But I would say, like, in the last few years, it just became this thing where I was like, wow, like, people are responding to me completely different, you know? Um, and there used to be a thing like, I look very, being petite, I look typically younger than my age. And so when I was 40, people were like, you are not 40. And then I was like, and I'm 50. And they're like, hmm, okay, cool. And I'm like, you don't want to ask, like, I don't look 40? And it's just, that's crazy to me. Like my entire life, when I was 21, I looked 12.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, yeah, I'm about to be 53. And they're like, good for you. And I'm just like, fuck. Shit. Are you telling me I look like I'm in my 50s? Fuck. So there's that. And that's my own shit. But then also, I mean, yeah, I think naturally being a woman, and this is like all of my friends of different ages and sizes and cultures and ethnicities, and um, it's so fascinating how you could go anywhere and you could be wearing anything, and a man would typically just be like, just checking you out. And I remember noticing that, like, just, I mean, typically I just was like, I'm gonna ignore it. I'm gonna go just down this aisle. I'm gonna grab my milk, and I'm gonna, and now it's like I walk, and it's just like there is no second looks. There is nothing. I will have to share this story. This was probably around, so I was probably around 40. I don't know, maybe 43, and I had on this like hot pink, like really cool jacket that I got at this surf shop when we lived in California, and I was wearing it in Nashville, and like I had gained weight, I couldn't fit in it, and I'd lost some weight, and I was like, oh my god, okay, I'm wearing my coat, and I wore it to work, and people were like, you're so cute in that coat, I love that jacket, that color looks so good on you. I'm like, thank you. And so I go to the grocery store, I'm pulling to Ingles, I was eating a chocolate bar, like and so I had a dark chocolate bar, and I was taking some nibbles, put it down, I go inside, and all of a sudden I'm walking down every aisle, and suddenly, like, I mean, I have people who are like just turning their heads and looking at me, and I'm like, okay, all right, noted. I'm gonna have to wear this coat more often. Awesome. And then it's like I go down another aisle, and people are like, and I'm just, their mouths are like, and I'm like, okay, I'm fucking working this wow. I'm like, I haven't gotten this much, like, holy what is happening? I'm like, man, I mean, I am vibing. I go to the checkout, and like, and the girl at the counter, there was a guy, young guy, but it was a girl that was like helping bag, and they were both like, they were probably like 19, and they were both just like, and then I was just like, oh, okay, something shifted. Okay, all right. I get in my car, and I immediately, which I never do, I never look at myself in the mirror. I immediately like put down the like, rear view mirror, and I put it down, and I'm like, and I had fucking dark chocolate all over my mouth. Like, it was embarrassing. And so that entire time I thought it was because of this vibing pink jacket. And it was because I had fucking dark chocolate all over my, and they were like, what? And I literally busted out laughing, and I was crying, and I laughed and cried all the way home. It was just fucking brilliant. And I was like, wow. And cause I remember going like, all right, you're 43, but like, you still got it. And so now, like, I don't even know if I had chocolate on my mouth now, if like people would even notice it, but it's just like, yeah, it is just fascinating. People are so fascinating.
Wow. Yeah, I got to a point in my life where I don't want to say that I gave up, because I learned, or I heard as I was growing up in the entertainment industry, that once you're 18, it's no longer about you being a child star.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're 21, it's not about being a teen star.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're 25, it's not about being up and coming.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got to wait until you're 35, 37. So between 25 and 35 in the industry, they would not sign you.
Wow. That's crazy.
Because you couldn't meet. Oh, what are we going to sign somebody who's 25 and the record's going to come out and they're going to be 27, 28? Nobody wants a fucking 28-year-old.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And then, you're 30? Especially for women. You're 30? Well, you're going to be 35 in a couple of years, and nobody wants a 35-year-old pop star.
Right. Oh.
I worked with high-profile people that in their 40s,
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't get record deals. They couldn't proceed with the success they had before because of their age.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with a guy where so many deals on the table, nobody would pull the plug because they went, we have a question. How old are you? And he looked younger than he
Mm-hmm.
did. He said, I'm 45. And they went, oh,
All bets are off.
we thought you were like 38.
Right.
He's like, no, I'm 45. They're like, you're going to be 50 next year.
Do the math.
You
Not
know what I'm
quite.
saying?
Yeah.
But in their
Oh,
minds, they're
yeah.
like, we're not fucking signing you.
Yeah.
You're going to be 50.
Yeah.
There's no 50-year-old rock stars.
Yeah.
It's even worse for women. Or
Oh,
I'm going to say that back then. Because now there are so many opportunities and so many platforms for women of any age to do whatever the hell they
that's
want
true.
and get it out there
That's so true.
and push it forward. So there isn't that limitation of being held back by some kind of bullshit industry standard.
Yeah, but it's so true. It's so true. I mean, I remember just, being in Los Angeles and, I had various agents and I always looked very young for my age and they were just like, how old are you again? And, they'd look at my license and they were like, oh. And I remember I moved out there when I was 21, but I remember when I hit 23, they're like, you're 23. I mean, you're pretty much like over the hill. I'm like, what are you fucking kidding me? And I literally looked like I was probably like 13 or 14, but it didn't matter. And I had friends of mine and roommates that were writers. They were writers and they were animators, and they were in their 30s, and they would literally ask, not in front of the camera, like behind the scenes, writing and animators, and they would ask first thing when they were getting interviewed by an agent for representation, how old are you? And oftentimes they had to lie about their age. It's just crazy how, as a society, we're so consumed with aging and just like it's all about youth, and there's just something about ageism that just terrifies people.
Yeah, I was with a very famous girl group in the 80s. They had to take on this younger persona in order to keep their contract.
That's nuts.
And there was like happy birthday in magazines and, oh, hey, it's your birthday, how old are you? And they're like 25.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're not fucking 25.
Yeah.
I know you're 32.
Yeah.
You're 27 and you're saying you're 22. But this is the way the industry worked back then. And now I don't think anybody cares.
Like you said, I think there are so many opportunities just for you to put your own stuff out there, and so many platforms. And then I think about people who I still feel like in our society we still want like this sort of youthful energy, and I mean I still think that that's still a thing. But when I think of someone like Sharon Jones and how this woman, I mean, literally had this amazing career take off in her 50s,
right.
Reminds me, like, just for myself, that, like, you, just because you're a certain age doesn't mean your craft, your creativity is over. Like, and I mean, I try to remind myself, like, being a preschool teacher and also like being a mom, I used to tell this to Abrielle, like as she got older and as she wanted her art to look a certain way, now she wants it to look more realistic and she can't, and she doesn't know how. I tell her like it's not about it's not about the product, it's about the process. And so that's just something that I need to listen. I need to listen to my own advice. Like I say this to like you know to Abrielle, like to my younger students when I was a preschool teacher, and I'm like, oh my God, like that is so true. Like it's so much about the process. And then if you have a situation where your career can take off, like great. That's just bonus at that point. Yeah.
I agree. I appreciate you jumping back into the seat because I think that really hit me, the whole ageism conversation there about creativity and success, because I know more people now in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s that are reapproaching their passions and what they consider to be their purpose. And I want to reinforce that message that you should be doing this.
Oh, absolutely.
I digress and I go back to one of the things that my father said to me on his deathbed. I was just about ready to give up music and go pre-med. Because the entire industry was folding in on itself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had 9/11, we had Napster, we had LimeWire, digital music and streaming was coming up, record labels were closing, everything, and money was just gone. And here I am, and just watching my father die, and I was like, and he knew I'm like, I think I'm gonna give this all a break. I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna try a different path. And he just went, you can't stop now. You've learned everything you need to know to have a successful career as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, motherfucker. You've waited this long to tell me this shit, and but the point was valid. You get to a certain point in your life, in your adult life,
absolutely,
where you know all the things not to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one of them is not to judge your own shit, just to put it out. Just to get it out. And that's what I'll leave you with.
Yeah.
Because I think we both need to reinforce that for each other, remind each other, just get it out.
It's true.
Because at the end of the day, if it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And the result is nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, it's true.
So you might as well do it anyway.
Well, I'm glad your dad gave you that gift. What a gift he gave you.
Woo! It was a hard one.
I bet.
It was a hard one. I talk in another video where, I realized that at one point when he was on his deathbed, that everything that I had achieved to this point was to gain his appreciation for me, and everything that I had done was to gain his attention. Like, look what you've made. I'm you, And the very last words that he said is that you never ever had to achieve anything. All you needed to do was be my son.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I was like, fucker! But in that moment, in his passing, it made me realize that I no longer had that crutch. I no longer had that as my goal. That my goal was to never stop. And even today, I did a video earlier where I was talking about giving up on what you're doing. And you can't really give up, because if you give up, the only thing you're giving up on is yourself.
Totally.
You can't quit yourself.
Yeah.
Because this is who you are. You can't quit this. You can't. You don't have an option of quitting this. So whatever this is, you have to move it forward. Because you can't quit it.
Yeah.
It's like, I know creativity is you. I know this. It's you. You can't quit you.
That's so true. And I've never really heard anyone put it into those words or terms. And that is like very powerful. Like, it's like, it also gives me a different purpose. Like, I don't know, that just really strikes me like right here. Like, wow, that's so true.
Well, I don't know where it came from or where I got it or where I heard it, it doesn't matter. It's just, I realized I can't quit me. There is no giving up on me. It's not an option.
I'm writing that shit down.
Take that with you. Turn this thing off.
Write it down.
Write it down. I hope you enjoyed that. It was definitely a pleasure for me, and I have more interviews coming up, and they're just regular people like me and you. You might know them, you might not, but I don't think that's the point. The point is, each one of them is successful in their own right, in their own way, and they're creative. And they've found a way to continue doing this throughout their lives. And I think that is value enough for anyone. So until the next time, be well, be brave, be you. If you want to check out my free ebook, Understanding Creative Authenticity, just pop on over to yourcreativetruth.com. I think you'll really benefit from it. And I look forward to seeing you next time.